I'm going to be as high energy as possible. Welcome back to 1 week later. I'm Joe Dove, and with me as always, Robot Bill S. Preston Esquire. He is now the original Bill on the series here on the channel. Here, there's a new Bill. There's two Bills on the show. One of them is actually Bill, and he's also wearing red. So we're both red today. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
What's going on? How you been? It's been a little bit. We did Monty Python for Easter, and that did well. So I said, hey, let's do another one.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I love that. That one actually did better than some of our She-Hulk ones. I can't believe that.
Yeah, and it's what 70 years later? No, 50, 40 years later.
Yeah, 40 years later, and that does better than some of our more recent movies.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping this is one of the ones that does pretty well. So obviously you're clicking on it because you saw the thumbnail and you know it's Electric State and you want to know, well, what is it worth it? It's on Netflix. It's a direct to Netflix movie. It's got a hell of a star-studded cast. So I'll read the cast in a minute, but it's going to be a little dumbed down. So let's get into the synopsis. An orphan teen hits the road with a mysterious robot to find her long-lost brother, teaming up with a smuggler and his wise-cracking sidekick. Ooh. All right, let's get into this mega cast, okay? So this cast is so big, I'm going to actually just share it from IMDb. It's so wild. All right, we got Chris Pratt plays the other guy. All right. Woody Harrelson is Mr. Peanut, who's the president, which I find hilarious. Millie Bobby Brown is Michelle, who's married to in the Bon Jovi family. So she's Millie Bobby Bon Jovi. That's all I'm trying to say that 5 times fast. Kei Hoi Kwan is the doc, and he's also the voice. These are some of the big names. Alan Tudyk is in it. Holly Hunter. Kurt Loder. How did you freak out when you heard Kurt Loder's voice?
I was like, he's still alive. He's still alive.
He's 79 years old. He'll be 80 at the end of the year. Craig Cromer was the dad. Woody Norman is her brother. Anne Russo, who I hadn't seen in a long time, was the mom. Vince Pisani is the science professor. But Stanley Tucci and Giancarlo Esposito were also in this. It's weird that where is Giancarlo? They don't even have him here, so that's weird. He should definitely be top billing because he was kind of the main villain. But whatever.
And he made more sense in this than he did in Brave New World.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, it's quite the cast. Quite the cast. Well, let's hop right into it. What worked, Billy? Start with you. What worked?
All right, considering this is Netflix cast, they actually had pretty decent effects. I mean, normally Netflix, their special effects are a little bit lackluster. To see them actually do robots that actually look decent is really impressive.
Yeah.
And also, yes, it does have a pretty big cast.
Huge. That's all that you got for this one?
Well, also,
the cast is great. The effects are great. Fuck everything else.
It had a lot of cool nostalgia stuff, and it was interesting to see, but there's a lot of stuff. I'll get into the negatives when I get to that.
Oh, wow. So there's more negative than positive for you. All right. What worked for me was the idea of it all. It's kind of Matrix adjacent. It almost could be a Matrix prequel. I'm wondering if that's what the treatment was. And they just kind of went, hey, you know what? We'll just take that and make it this. What?
I was actually thinking that was going to be one of my negatives. I was going to say there's an Animatrix short that was actually almost this exact same concept, but better.
Oh. See? Could have been the treatment. The wild cast of robots. I thought it was going to be iRobot type of robots, but then it was just no, a robot that sweeps your, stuff and your dog hair and everything. They got into such different types of robots and the bar robot and and they were all AI, and it's we're totally leading towards this, guys. You guys keep messing around with AI, and then all of a sudden, boom, we're gonna be screwed. But
also, I gotta say this: where were the Japanese robots?
Yeah. Well,
Gundam
they're
Factory Fukuhama, whatever that one was, with the 60-foot robot. That would
yeah.
have made this a much quicker battle, and
Yeah, exactly.
we would have lost right there. That would have been the real leader of the robot revolution. Forget
Yeah.
Mr. Peanut. You just get Gundam, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, Gundam would have ended the war real quick. It's like, you know. So, and they got into what I really liked about this movie is they got into really some wild stuff. You know, Elon before he went total Nazi, he was coming up with a chip that they were going to put in people's brains,
Oh,
which
Neuralink,
is
yeah.
what's it called?
Neuralink.
Neuralink. Yeah, I ain't doing it, but I kind of felt like they kind of took that concept, and that's the thing that you put on your head instead of being a chip in your head, it's on your head, and you could vicariously live through a robot. So I like how it became robots versus robots anyway, but just one was controlled by humans, the other by AI. Thought that was a fun concept. What were you going to say?
Oh, actually, I did think about one thing, because this thing actually did do one thing that the Matrix originally wanted to do, but they were told in the 1990s that people wouldn't get it. Definitely doing a spoiler, because why not?
Well, I mean, this has been out for a while. So
Yeah.
we haven't seen it.
So,
Definitely think you should go see it.
They were using a kid's brain as a server.
Right.
And apparently, at one point, the Wachowskis wanted those human farms that were seen in the Matrix, where everybody was in those pods. Were supposed to be the Neuralink for all of the Matrix, and they were supposed to be using their brains as a server farm.
Wow.
And they were told that people wouldn't understand that concept, so to use them for batteries instead, because, well, 1990s, nobody thought about storage, because...
Yeah. It was the 90s. We used to have 256 gigabytes of RAM, or was it 200, or was it 250 megabytes? And we were like, wow, that's so much. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of cool stuff that I thought worked really well. I really loved how the robots looked. They look very like primitive, but like menacing at the same time. And the whole war versus the humans, I thought was really cool. And the ultimate defeat, how the robots won, was also pretty neat. But a lot of the human characters, there's a cameo by Jason Alexander from Seinfeld fame, and it's kind of awkward because you're like, is that her foster dad? Is it a roommate? Is it a landlord? It's like a landlord, but it was pretty weird. And yeah, it was a movie, and it made choices, and some of the stuff worked and some of the stuff didn't work, and that's what I think worked. Let's talk about what didn't work. For me, what didn't work were most of the human characters. I felt like I really didn't care for them. I liked Millie Bobby Brown's character and her connection with her brother. That worked pretty well, but I still felt like, dude, you didn't know that your brother was used this whole time? Like, you know, they did this jump where he was in school and he was really smart and he took this test and it was going to lead him somewhere, and it didn't really go anywhere, and then he became cannon fodder or something like that, and it was like, oh, it was kind of like rushed, I felt. And I think they spent a little bit more time getting into that. I thought it would have worked a little better. I also felt like the whole robot city thing didn't work too well, because if they are just siphoned off into like a small section of Arizona, of all places. This came out 2 months ago, by the way. It was just awkward. It was just like, well, why would they have, like, you would figure they would have their own robot utopia and they would just kind of like clean up stuff, but they stayed as misfit toys to me, and I felt like that was dumb. I felt like they could have like improved on themselves and gone forward, because they're AI. So you would think that they would have a desire to develop, adapt, and grow stronger and leaner and cleaner. But they just kind of were like, nah, we're going to stay right where we are, baby. You know, and it just didn't make sense to me. It was like, why the freak? Like, if I was a robot and I knew humans we had this huge war, and then this mech genius kind of like squashed us, and he's kind of crazy, and there could be a revenge tour at some point, kind of like what's going on in presidency. But I would for sure make sure I had the baddest ass robots around. Like, I would make sure I got those Gundam robots, like you were saying. So that's some of the stuff that didn't work for me. What about you, Billy?
Oh, that's weird, because you think like apparently this robot versus human war was exclusively linked to the United States, and no one
Yeah.
else internationally was involved in this.
Oh.
Because, like, I've seen a lot of foreign robots, and they would do this a lot different.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of these characters, as of the fact that I chose to name Robot Bill Preston Esquire from Bill and Ted,
Bill and Ted, yeah.
shows that I found that there was nostalgia bait throughout this thing. Like, oh, let's have Mr. Peanut as the leader of the robots because mascot robots. That's nostalgic.
Yeah.
And
the kitty,
the smuggler, like supposed to be like a Han Solo type, but I hate to say it, I thought he kind of came across like the Zelda. I mean, Link from the 1980s Legend of Zelda. I almost expect him to go, "Excuse me, princess."
Yeah.
And his robot sidekick, the wisecracking sidekick, was Bender from Futurama. I'm sorry, but I'm like, Matt Groening needs to sue somebody, mother, because like, oh my god, that is totally Bender. Like, and then of course they have little Cosmo robot, and it's interesting, but just it didn't seem to pay off much. I mean, yes, the brother's inside the Cosmo robot that can only spout catchphrases.
Yeah. Going back to the cast really quick, Anthony Mackie was Herman, and Coleman Domingo was in this as Wolfie. Rob Grozanski, the football player, he was Blitz, figures, and Joe Russo was the Skeevy bot, and Hank Azaria was Perplexo. Like, this is so star-studded. I thought it was, and Brian Cox is, and it's like they have so many actors, and it's like, why do they just lean on that? Like, they told like Millie Bobby Brown's and the guys, Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt.
Yeah, Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt, because like everybody loves Chris Pratt apparently.
No, they don't. Like, they have all these other characters, all these other people, and like I know they have bit parts, but I would lean the hell out on some Anthony Mackie and Coleman, you know.
And also, I hate to say this, but until you just mentioned this, I was like, holy crap, Brian Cox is still alive?
Yeah, Brian Cox is alive and well, alive and kicking. I mean, he died in that show, but he himself is still alive.
I don't know why, but for some reason, like I was like, didn't he? I thought like him, like he was gonna like Philip Seymour Hoffman, or thought like he was like dead that long.
Oh, geez, no. All right, let's get to the reception. If you didn't know, I'm having a severe allergy attack. All right, so the reception of this one. All right, we're gonna go off the IMDb because, you know, everybody's pretty much said in various shapes and forms that Rotten Tomatoes is boot. So, all right, this is out of 10, 5.9, so it's mid. Its popularity has waned, and it has a Metascore 30, which is pretty bad, I think, because it's out of 100, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's out of 100. So, yeah, not really well received there. Are you surprised at the rating?
No, not in the least.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, let's wrap it up. Ooh, allergies. All right. Overall, I think it's worth a watch, but I'm probably never going to watch it again. I thought that it was very appeasing looking, and I thought that it was a really great idea, but I just didn't connect with many of the human characters, and I was rooting for the robots. One of the big villains in this was the Lex Luthor / Tim Cook of Stanley Tucci. And I thought his character, though, introduced kind of like spoken briefly in the beginning and really focused on at the end when suddenly was the main bad guy, was a weird twist that was kind of unnecessary. And then Giancarlo Esposito's character just was like, screw you, I'm going with the robot. So kind of weird, kind of mashup stuff there. So that to me kind of like threw it off. What did you think?
Well, I thought Giancarlo Esposito was actually one of the few good things about this movie because, like, as you said, I thought it was like nice. He's like, "I'll kill all humans and all robots," and then he's like, "Wait, that robot actually is piloted by a kid. I'm not letting you kill a kid."
Yeah. He grew a heart.
Yes, his heart grew 3 sizes that day.
Yeah, exactly.
But on the end, what I would say from most of the stuff, I mean, despite all-star cast, there's actually like a much older sci-fi thing with robots that I'd recommend from Netflix over this.
What's that?
There was a Korean thing called Space Sweepers or something. I'm not sure if it was Korean or Japanese, but whatever.
Oh, my old bedroom.
That was... I heard it was a Korean drama, and that was also set in a dystopian future with robots trying to rescue a robot child.
Oh.
And they were basically scavengers that had stolen stuff.
Oh.
And they had the wisecracking robot, and it was a much better project.
Yeah.
Netflix had distribution rights, but they didn't make that one. But that one was like pretty cool. So, but Netflix does have sci-fi that's pretty good sometimes.
Yeah, they have some really cool. I was watching one yesterday that just kind of was like dystopian future because everything went to crap in the 90s and then it just spiraled out of control. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of where we're headed. But and the woman from Walking Dead who played Alpha was in that. And like I thought it was going to be more about the future, and it's like how drones were like going around sweeping, and it turns out they were like kind of sweeping Gaza, and it was really about how like dictatorships are on the rise. And I was like, oh, he fooled me. I thought this was going to be more like, the
one thing I will say about Netflix is some of their sci-fi and dystopian futures and like thought stuff occasionally when they do it, it's better than Amazon stuff. I mean,
yeah, that's for sure.
As bad as some of the stuff is, I'd still rather watch this than an episode of Citadel.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty much it this week. The other thing that could happen is
for a disaster of biblical proportion. What do you mean? You could believe, Mr. Pecker.
My name is Peck.
Or you could accept the fact that this city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportion.
What do you? That's right. A disaster of biblical proportion. The robots are going to take over. They keep funding AI, and we're going to get screwed. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. Yeah. Would you recommend this to a friend, or is this a one and done?
This is a one and done, but I'd still say like give it a shot if you're really bored.
Yeah. We are going to be back next week for Thunderbolts, so stay tuned. We figured we'd hop into it. We're also going to be doing a couple other movies that are dropping this summer, so expect us. And we're going to try to get Brandon Liu to dust off the old microphone and talk about Fantastic Four. See if we can get AJ in there too. Until next time, deuces. We're gonna scoot out of here. Yeah, but go and check out the AJ Orsini's Uncensored Mind channel. I know this is a weird thing because this show is not on that much right now, but go and check it out. And we're gonna leave you with some robots. Robots. Oh, Giancarlo Esposito. Robots. All right. Yep.